Hey everybody, it's Alex Miller at Capnion here. I hope whoever you are out there, the world is being kind to you. I thought we'd have a little fun since it's Friday. I told LinkedIn that I talk about macroeconomics, and I was on Fred, the Federal Reserve's economic data website, yesterday. I saw a graph I thought was really interesting. So before I show the graph, like a kind of facetious saying I was exposed to ages ago is, the fundamental theorem of economics is you have some graph and two lines meet, and that's the answer. So in this video, in a second, I'll show you this graph. It concerns repos. I'm going to talk about what a repo is. It relates to government debt, the bonds that the Treasury issues. I'm going to talk about why are repos important, and then I'm going to analyze. There's going to be two lines in this graph, and what does it say when the two lines meet? And that's something that's coming up soon that might be interesting to an investor. Might be interesting if you're interested in public policy, and I'll spell all of that out. All right, this is the graph. There's one interesting line on this graph, which is the squiggly blue one, and then the other interesting one is the horizontal axis. This graph concerns the volume of utilization of a Federal Reserve program where if you've got some extra money lying around and you need to borrow a government bond, they'll do that deal with you. They'll lend you that government bond for a while in exchange for a bit of your sloppy extra money. So it's worth talking about why would you do something like this? And there's two forms of that question. So you might be involved in a deal to borrow a bond because you're a regulated entity like a bank and you have some rules about how your balance sheet is supposed to look and you're not obeying them right now. And if you forgive a colorful metaphor, I believe in some cases it's a lot like, well, you like to do drugs and you have to take a drug test. Maybe you need to borrow some urine from your straight edge roommate to pass that test. And so this happens all the time, every day. People, not just with the Fed, but in general, are loaning each other bonds for various reasons. The second why question is about timeline. Why did the Fed get into lending people bonds at this particular point in time, and why is it evolving up and down as you see in the graph? And I think the right way to tell that story is actually to go all the way back to 2008. So 2008, there was a severe financial crisis. If you're my age, lots of people had a lot of trouble getting jobs in the aftermath. It's maybe burned in your memory. And in the aftermath of that financial crisis, the Federal Reserve in various ways pumped lots and lots of money into the economy to just try to keep the machine running. And so after a while, that worked, and it wasn't as good as it was before pumping all this money in. They started to vacuum it back out. And after some time vacuuming it back out, there was another different kind of crisis, the 2019 repo crisis, which was a sort of meltdown in these markets where people loan each other bonds. And the story was vaguely that the Fed had vacuumed up enough money out of the economy that there wasn't enough money to buy all the debt the government was selling. And that's not quite what happened, but the repo crisis was a sort of canary in the coal mine that there was that tension. So the same thing is true recently. We had pandemic. The Fed in various ways pumped tons of money into the economy, and now they're trying to vacuum it back out. So this graph represents to a significant degree, on the one hand, the government's debt is actually an important financial product that lots of people want and need to buy. And then just also there's questions of how much money is there out there to buy it. And this graph is an indication of there's a lot of extra money and people, I guess, could still use some more government debt that they might like to own. And so this reverse repo is a lot of actors saying, well, I have extra cash, I'll give it to you, I'd like that bond. When it hits the x-axis, we are shifting from a world where people have too much cash and they would like to have some more government debt on their balance sheet to a world where people would like some more cash and they're tired of holding government debt on their balance sheet. So this is really important for a lot of things we talk about through other lenses during the day. First, a lot of people would like to know what the Fed is going to do. So when this graph hits zero, the Fed is now in danger of a particular type of instability it would really like to prevent. And there's different ways to approach it, but vaguely the Fed is kind of on notice. It doesn't have as much leeway to vacuum money out of the economy. Also, we talk about government debt and deficits till we're blue in the face, and we don't always do a good job recognizing this is also a financial product. What's the demand for it? When that line hits zero, that is a suggestion that we are now entering the territory where a problem vaguely of the nature the government wanted to run a deficit by issuing bonds, and just nobody wanted to buy them. So I'm arguing here we're a quarter or two from a sort of frame shift. And I guess I should emphasize I don't expect things are going to explode the day that happens. Rather, it's unfortunately reliable these days that in the world of finance, stuff surprise explodes every once in a while. And you can expect it'll happen in the future. And this graph is telling you, well, if you got hit by a bus you didn't see coming, what color was the bus? It used to be one color, and we're about to enter a frame where it's a different color. And these are both worth knowing if, once again, if you're an investor and you would like to know what the Fed is doing, or you're interested in the activities of the government issuing debt and the limits of their ability to do it safely. This is a pretty arcane topic. I put a lot of effort into understanding it. I didn't think it was easy for me when I was trying to understand it. I hope I did a good job. So it was a lot at once. I felt like a lot at once saying it, but I think this, a little bit off what's on the front page of the newspaper. This is a great thing to pay attention to illuminate some of these issues in a way that you might not otherwise get.